Hi, loves. I wanted to take a moment to share an experience that I just had in a coaching session with a male client of mine. So, for those who aren't familiar with the boiling frog analogy, basically it's the idea that there's a frog. This might sound cruel, but there's a point. So, there's a frog, and it's put in a pot of water. And at the time, the water is just room temperature. However, while the frog is in the pot, a person turns on the heat at a very low temperature, and as a result, the temperature will slowly rise to the point of boiling. And the thing is, because the temperature is on at such a low heat, the frog doesn't actually realize that the heat is rising because it's rising at such a subtle degree that its body acclimates to the rise in temperature all the way up until its death. Kind of intense, right? But it's a real thing. And I was paralleling this with my male client because he's coming to me. He's a man in his mid-50s. He's actually an ex-Navy SEALs and is really seeing how his relationships lack the depth and the intimacy that he is wanting in his life, especially as it applies to women. And a lot of what we're doing together is creating a container where we can look at the places where his own patterning, his own defense mechanisms are blocking him from being able to invite in and drop into the kind of intimacy that he's desiring in his life. And I realized, like, oh, here's a beautiful example of the boiling frog analogy, because in this case, the rise of the heat in the water is like, let's say that when we are young, we are just open and receptive and just purely open-hearted. And that's just how we're designed to be. That's how we naturally come into the world. But what winds up happening is that we have experiences in our life, often with our parents or our primary caregivers, where they engage with us in ways where we're hurt, where their own woundings, their own challenges have them be cruel to us or not gentle with our hearts in ways where when we're young, we start just realizing, oh, well, maybe it's not safe to have an open heart. So what winds up happening is we slowly start cultivating these defense mechanisms, these ways that we guard our heart, and this happens on an energetic level. Often we're walking around with these defense mechanisms that they're energetically created. They're like repellents to intimacy, but we don't even necessarily realize that it's happening. And in this circumstance, the rise in water, the rise in temperature in the water is like the rise of the defense mechanisms that get placed around our heart as we walk through a culture that bombards us with not kindness. And we have these experiences throughout our life where we learn more and more, like, oh, it's not safe to be me here, and it's not safe to be me here, or I need to become this in order to protect myself. And because it happens so gradually and over a period of time, we don't even realize that these are defense mechanisms. We just think that, oh, this is just who I am. It's not just who you are. It's that we live in a culture that teaches us that the only way to be safe is to guard and calcify our hearts, because otherwise there will be pain. And that's not to say that there won't be pain in life, but it is actually safe for our hearts to be open. And a lot of what people get drawn to me for is that they've gotten to this point where they realize that there are these protection mechanisms, these patterns, these belief systems that are blocking us from the depth of connection and the profundity of experience that we're desiring in our life because of fears that have been calcified in our bodies. So the boiling frog analogy, it's this invitation to really explore like, what are the layers of defenses that we have picked up along the course of our life that impact our ability to truly connect, to truly be present, to create relationships that deeply fulfill us and have us feel met and seen in the ways that so many of us are hungry for. That some of the people who are in the pursuit of power over and more money than one could possibly imagine, that ultimately what it comes down to is just a desire to feel like it is safe to be open and receive love. So that's my transmission for you in this moment. Love you, Phoenix Waters. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. I love to hear what your thoughts, ideas, comments, questions are in the comments below. I love you all, and I'll talk to you soon. Mwah.